Okay. Ayubowan, good afternoon. We warmly welcome all of you for the grand finale of Pan Asia Debater 2021. It's happening for the first time in Pan Asia history as an employee engagement event. And we again welcome our MD CEO, corporate management, and other dignitaries of the bank, judges, and our very own staff as virtual spectators. Don't raise your voice, improve your argument by Desmond Tutu. With that quote, ladies and gentlemen, I'm Chatu, representing Human Resource Department, and I'll be the host and the moderator of today's proceedings. We successfully held our preliminary round on 1st of November, and out of 8 teams, 7 teams from the regions and 1 team from the head office. The highest scored 2 teams were qualified to battle against each other on today's final. Today's proposition topic is savings are largely depend on the individual's financial discipline, not the economic situation of the country. Today's opposition topic will be savings are largely dependent on the economic situation of the country, not the individual's financial discipline. Let us go over the rules of the debate as usual proceedings. Each team will have 5 members, including a reserve member. The timer will display color cards on Zoom as a slide share to indicate the progress of the time of the speakers. After 1 minute and 30 seconds, the green background will appear on the screen. After 2 minutes, the yellow background will appear on the screen to indicate the time. Thank you, timer. After 2 minutes and 30 seconds, the red background will appear on the screen to show the time. And debater got 30 seconds to wrap up his or her speech. After 3 minutes, the speaker will be muted by the host or the Zoom tech officials. If a speaker elapses his or her maximum allotted time, the timer will mute the speaker through Zoom. No reductions of marks for the timing. The first speech shall be delivered by the leader of the proposition. Leader of the opposition shall follow. Time allotted is 3 minutes for each speaker. The second speaker of both the teams should add on to the plot without debating. The time allotted is 3 minutes. The third speaker of both teams can add points on do the rebuttals. Time allotted is 3 minutes. Fourth speakers can only do rebuttals, no adding of new points. Time allotted is 3 minutes. Finally, the concluding speeches will start, no adding of new points or rebuttals. It shall be summary of the team position with an impactful conclusion. Time allotted is 3 minutes. Speakers from both the teams shall be speaking alternatively. First concluding speech, summary speech, shall be from the opposition, followed by the proposition. The finalized speaking order of each team with the reserve member's name was given to the moderator, and the debaters must keep their audio and the video off except for their speaking slots during the debate. The best team with the highest overall scores will be selected as the winner. In case of loss of connection or a technical failure from the debater's side, the timer will pause the timing and 2 minutes waiting time will be allowed to reconnect. Once reconnected, the debater shall start from the point he or she was delivering at the time of disconnection and shall continue within the remaining time. If a disconnected debater is not able to join after 2 minutes, the reserved member shall start and continue for remaining time in that slot. If the summary speaker gets disconnected, it shall be continued only by the main member of the team. Reserved speakers are not allowed to do the summary speeches in the event of the technical failure during concluding speeches stage. Judging panel is comprised of 5 judges, including the chief judge, and chief judge decision based on the scores of the panel of judges, and his verdict is final. The chief judge of the Pan Asia Debater Contest 2021 is Mr. Moditha Sendanayaka. Head of Operations, Speaker in U, Sri Lanka, Lecturer of GIHE Campus, Sri Lanka, Public Speaking Coach, Debate, Chief Judge, Certified Trainer, City and Guilds UK, Distinguished Toastmaster, Toastmaster International USA, Division Director of Division E, Toastmasters International, District 82, Sri Lanka and Maldives. And our internal panel of judge is Mr. Jeremy De Silva, DGM Internal Audit. Mr. Jeremy counts 30 years of banking experience in both local and foreign banks, which includes 20 years as a senior and corporate member capacities. He holds an MBA from the University of Sutherland, Queensland, Australia, postgraduate executive diploma in bank and bank management, diploma in banking from the Institute of Bankers, Sri Lanka, fellow member of the Institute of Chartered Professional Managers, Institute of Internal Auditor, USA, Chartered Institute of Securities and Investment, UK, Association of Business Executives, UK, and Institute of Bankers, Sri Lanka. He also holds a Vice President, former Secretary General of Association of Professional Bankers, Sri Lanka. He also the immediate past President of Bankers, Chief Internal Auditors Forum, Sri Lanka. We are pleased to have you here, sir. And our fellow judges from third-party judges, Farhaz Farooq, Senior Finance and Management Professional. He has served as a CFO in banking and finance and energy sectors, fellow member of the Chartered Management Institute UK, fellow member of ICSL Sri Lanka, certified Islamic professional accountant, distinguished Toastmaster, Toastmaster International USA, former Toastmaster Division Executive Council member. We are pleased to have you here, sir. The next judge, Jeevana Pradeep Malgaha Gamage. He's an accountant major, Sri Lanka Army, distinguished Toastmasters, Toastmaster International USA, chartered professional manager, CMS Sri Lanka, certified business accountant, CS Sri Lanka, senior member of AATSL Sri Lanka, director of Division B, Toastmasters International, District 82, Sri Lanka and Maldives. We are pleased to have you here, sir. And our last judge, Ms. Dinelka Nayani Jayakodi. She is a senior consultant technology at Virtusa, Sri Lanka. She's also an All-Ireland Award-winning school debate speaker, executive committee member of Foreign Toastmasters Club, and Oracle certified IT professional. We are all pleased to have all the judges here, including the chief judge. The chief judge has confirmed that all judges have been briefed and are qualified to judge this content. There will be 2 minutes of silence after the debate so that the judges may mark their ballots after the last debater has spoken. Finally, we trust the instructions received by the debaters during the training will ensure a proper, energetic, and enthusiastic and memorable debate. Are there any questions? I will now read out the names of the 2 team members. The order of the debaters are as follows. The proposition team, Team Southern. Speaker number 1, Tilini Tarangi. Speaker number 2, Pravini Dizoiza. Speaker number 3, Rajiv Seelanatha. Speaker number 4, Priyankara Bandar. Summary speaker is again the team leader, Tilini Tarangi, and reserved speaker is Chaturika Samarasinghe. Opposition Team Central, Speaker number 1, Chandula Nanayakara, Speaker number 2, Tharindra Gunawardena, Speaker number 3, Dinitya Bekul, Speaker number 4, Shehani Fernando. The summary speaker is Chandula Nanayakara, the team leader, and the reserved speaker is Rasanjali Alhako. Zoom master, are all the speakers present? And timer, are you ready?
Yes, the timer is ready.
Thank you, Ramesh. Chief Judge, can you please confirm that all the judges are in the meeting room?
Yes, debate moderator, all the judges are in the room and you may proceed. Wish you all the best, all the debaters. Let's have a great debate.
Thank you very much, Chief Judge. Let us begin. The first speaker from the proposition team. The speaker number 1, Tilini Tarangi. Zoom master, kindly pin the speaker. Tilini, can you repeat your name, please?
Tilini Tarangi.
Yes. Okay, you are pinned, you are audible and visible too. Can you see the timer screen, the shared
Yes,
screen? Okay. The speaker, you may start now.
Don't say what is left after the spending, but spend what is left after the saving. That is totally depend on your financial discipline. Good afternoon, all honorable judges and my dear opposition team members, proposition team members, and all financial bankers. We are with the pledge of the southern region and the team of the proposition. We are ready to conclude that savings are largely depend on the individual's financial discipline, not the economic situation of the country. So I quickly move on to the main keywords of this topic. When we consider the savings, we can simply say that saving is equal to the income plus expenditure. This expenditure may also included in the all the obligation towards the borrow money. Simply, we can say that saving is a setting money aside from present earning to provide for a future with the three main purpose for the emergency situation, future purchases, and wealth building. We are going for a savings. If each and every individual person have to have a financial discipline to move on to the savings. When we consider the next main keyword of this topic is individual's financial discipline. When we consider the discipline, it is continuous process that require a lot of commitment and determination. When we move to the financial discipline, it's mean how well you are able to control your spending and savings, that plans you have to set, achieve your monetary goal. When I was a child, my mother gave me a tip and teach me and advise me how to start your saving. That is the all and every individual's very initial first stage of starting of financial discipline. This is the one of the main important keyword is largely dependent on. We are not talk about the totally or fully dependent on. We are here consider largely depend on. Largely depend on means according to our foundation or the basement of the whole debate will go through based on this keywords in the topic. There are so many other factors can be available to affected to the saving, economical, financial, cultural, social. There are many factors available, but financial discipline of individual person, that is the greater, that is become the greatest influence to the saving of the person, serving of the corporate, saving of the national. We are go through all debate will go through based on this basement when we consider the economic growth.
Let's have 30 seconds for the judges. Timer, please indicate after 30 seconds. Thank you very much. Next, the first speaker from the opposing team, Chandula Nanayakar. Chandula, can you repeat your name, please?
Yes, I'm Chandula, leader from Central Region.
Thank you, Chandula. You're audible and visible, and you are pinned too. Speaker Chandula, you may start now.
A very good afternoon to the Honorable Board, distinguished guests, my fellow speakers, and the opposing team. First of all, let me broaden our understanding about the definition of savings. Savings refers to the money that a person has left over. They subtract out their consumer spending from their disposable income over the given time period. Savings therefore represents a net surplus of funds for individual or households after all expenses and obligations have been paid. Savings are usually earmarked for emergencies. Some may say that a person who is unable to maintain savings experience an emergency situation. There is often not enough money to live on, and there is a risk of failing in debt or bankruptcy. But in fact, the effort individual putting the same manage their funds is comparatively negligible, as savings are mostly depend on the economy of the country. It is quite clear that is developing and poor countries shortcuts to improve the public finance management do not work, but that is why they usually try to do anyway. Solving budgetary issues by increasing allocation does not seem to bring the desired result. Either seemingly budget allocation matters less and may not bear desired result when institution and controlling mechanisms in the country's public finance and the governance are weak. The persistence of the deficits as well as the unstoppable rise in public sector debt over the past 3 decades in so many countries, including ours, suggests that some fundamental facts are likely to have played a key role. Both theories and studies suggest that greatest among these factors are indicate fiscal discipline and weak fiscal management. Typically, household on low income will have a very low savings levels. They need to buy a essential and do not have the luxury of being able to save. As the income raised, households tend to have a higher marginal propensity to save. This is because with the higher incomes, there's a decreased marginal utility to consumption. Household with extra income are more likely to save it. If there is a rising income for the low paid, there will have a bigger impact on the increase in savings than if there is in income of the wealthy. A reduction in inequality can increase the savings levels. Hence, today our team will be presenting our views on the opposing motion in order to prove that savings are largely depend on the economic situation of a country and not on individuals' financial discipline. I, as a leader and first speaker of the negative motion, proved you how a country physical discipline is more influential than individual financial, while pointed out the economy of countries individual savings. My fellow speakers will provide you with the best example for the scenario while disproving most facts stated against our topic. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Let's have 30 seconds for the judges. Timer, please indicate after 30 seconds. I suppose the time is right now. The second speaker from the proposing team is Pravini Dizoiza. Pravini, can you repeat your name, please?
Pravini Dizoiza.
Okay, great. And you are visible and audible too. The speaker, Pravini, you may start now.
Honorable judges, the members of opposition team, ladies and gentlemen, please let me to explain the emphasize our proposing that savings are largely depend on the individual's financial discipline, not the economical situation of the country. Dear all, first of all, I would like to remind you again and again what financial discipline
Speaker, please pause.
An individual has potential to make savings by mainly
Right. You may proceed right now. You may proceed.
shortly, an individual has potential to make savings by maintaining their income. That is, spending according to income and savings portion depend on the financial discipline of the individual. Therefore, managing one's income properly can lead to savings. It can be called the financial discipline of the individual. Making money can be done by everyone, but not only everyone can afford to spend it well managed and disciplined. So we can thoroughly say that savings are largely dependent on the individual's financial discipline. Let us now see how the savings of the individual depend on the economy. A rise in aggregate savings would yield larger individual savings, help to associate with higher GDP growth. As a result of higher rates of savings, increase the amount of capital and lead to higher income, higher economic growth in the country. I challenge to my opposition team, prove with evidence how the entire economy of the country can grow without personal income and savings. Now we are proving that our topic savings increase the economic in the country because of the individual's financial discipline. Maintaining financial discipline is essential to maintain macroeconomic stability, reducing vulnerabilities, and improving aggregate economic performance. This is especially important of countries to successfully meet the challenges and reap the benefits of economic and financial globalization. Because of this, we can emphasize we are largely dependent vital to the development and growth of the all countries of the world. What does it mean? It means financial discipline that applies both individual and state savings and behavior to grow the economy. Although the real interest rate in Sri Lanka has been negative for many years, savings have not declined. It appears that it is based on the individual discipline and not the economical condition of the country. If the economical discipline is not maintained, then the government expenditure exceeds government receipts. Under this condition, the government would have to borrow funds incurred with difficult.
Thank you. Let's have 30 seconds for the judges. Timer, please indicate after 30 seconds. Okay, I think we are okay with the timing. Next speaker is the second speaker from the opposing team, Tharindra Gunawardana. Tharindra, can you repeat your name, please?
Tharindra Gunawardana.
Okay, you are audible. Okay, now you are visible too. The speaker, Tharindra, you may start now.
Good afternoon, everyone. I am the second speaker of the opposite
Tharindra,
team.
am I audible?
Yeah, audible.
Go on.
You may start now, Tharindra. The timing will start right now. Okay.
Good afternoon, everyone. I am the second speaker of the opposite team. Our speaker has already stated that what is the savings and how it depended on economic situation. So I'm going to explain what are the factors which affect into the savings level on economic situation. My first point is inflation. This is a foremost factor. Inflation can have effect on savings. If there is a high inflation and inflation is higher than interest rates, then this will discourage savings. As per the central bank report, this is the chart of inflation in Sri Lanka between 2020 to 21. It shows inflation has increased to 6.3% in October 2021 from 5% in September 2021. As the result of this, householder may look to either spend money before it falls in value or buy assets which hold their value during inflation. Now my second point, income level and income distribution. Income level and income distribution are two concepts which associate with inflation. Rising income levels will lead to raise to total savings level. But typically household and low income will have to low savings level. They will need to earn it by necessity and do not have, therefore savings dependent on economic condition. We all know that currently cost of living in Sri Lanka and other countries have been rising. So according to this, income and income distribution are depending on the economic condition in every country, and savings level in countries fluctuates through these reasons. My third point is interest rates. Any customer would like to have a high interest rate on deposit. Generally, a high interest rate can be given to the customer, but high interest rate cannot be afforded as advised by the central bank, because central bank has imposed condition on such interest rate based on prevailing economic condition in the country. Therefore, a country's savings depend on the aforesaid factors, and these factors are based on the economic condition of the country and not on individual behavior. My final point is consumer in the country. Example, unemployment. Because unemployment determine on economic condition of the country. Risk of unemployment may lead to people savings more. As with central bank report in 2021, this is the deposit level of commercial banks during July 2019 to June 2021. We can see the level the deposit has been reduced 2021 from 2019, and also today's standing deposit purchase rate is 5%. This is another reason which is to affect to savings level in economy. So according to the consideration this fact, we can identify savings are largely depend on economic situation of the country, not individual financial discipline. Thank you.
Let's have 30 seconds for the judges. Timer, please indicate after 30 seconds. Thank you. Third speaker from the proposing team, Rajiv Seelanatha. Rajiv, can you repeat your name, please?
Rajiv Seelanatha.
Okay, you're audible and visible. I hope you can see the shared screen of the timer.
Yes.
Yes, okay. Speaker Rajiv, you may start now.
Good afternoon, everyone. And what I heard the opposition colleagues have been told, but what I'm saying is the financial discipline is something which refers how well you are being able to achieve your monetary goals by the balancing with your own expenses. In other words, every country, not in Sri Lanka, is think about the monetary policy is depending on the national savings, individual savings, as well as the private savings, which means all three pillars are being balancing, one of the major factor is individual savings, which means it has been individual savings have been derives to the national economy as well as their budget policies. Even for the successful monetary money management is the utmost factor which have to bring to the people of that particular country, which means even in the present COVID situation, what we can understood, there will be some job redundancies and the factors have been inculcated with the present situation. But if the person who have to have the hardly earned savings, which means this is the need of the hour, is they can cushion in the risk when they need to use that particular savings. So even our religious principles, whatever the Gautama Lord Buddha also said, in your earnings you have to save one fifth of their say 1/5 your earning to the savings as well, even the other religious as well. So even the financial discipline derives that country's economic situation. Even you think about the IMF or the World Bank, now they are being driven to not to donation loans, but they are looking for the entrepreneurs, which means given the persuasion of the investments as well as for their savings. So my dear friends and the honorable judges, you will understand how is vital the financial discipline to the countries getting forward. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Let's have 30 seconds for the judges. Timer, please indicate after 30 seconds. Thank you. The third speaker from the opposing team, Diniti Abekon. Diniti, can you repeat your name, please?
Diniti Abekon.
Okay, you are visible and audible too. Can you see the timer's card?
Yes.
Yes, okay. Thank you very much. Speaker Diniti, you may start now.
Greetings to all of you. I completely oppose with my opposing team. I think the best example for our topic is the current pandemic, the COVID-19 outbreak. There is no doubt that the pandemic had an impact on the situation of the households, which is mainly rising unemployment or reduction in salaries for many people. So their savings level can be dropped or lost entirely. The policy of lockdown in countries affected the economy as a whole, which resulted in income differences. The daily wage people, or they could hardly even bear a meal per day. How many stories or grievances did we come across daily? Let alone savings, not a penny for their consumption. This hit the entire nation to the rock bottom. My opposing team says savings depend on financial discipline of an individual. First of all, I would like to ask you, are you all living in Sri Lanka? I really doubt. With the income we earn in Sri Lanka and when we consider our expenses, they are more costly. Are you even aware of the prices inflation that has hit up? Sri Lanka was, were and still a developing country with a lower middle income. Let me remind you, Sri Lanka's domestic savings as a percentage of GDP declined to 18.9% in 2020. The increase in public saving contributed to the decline in domestic savings. National savings as a percentage of GDP declined to 23.9% in 2020. The decline in national savings resulted in a larger decline in investments. For your reference, you expect financial discipline with these statistics. Countries that have higher savings rates for longer periods experience large and sustained economic growth, as in Korea, China, etc. Growth and savings reflect a positive relationship. Higher income, higher savings. Thoroughly, I prove our topic with these statistics of the central bank report issued. Unemployment, bank rates, etc. Domestic savings has reduced with national savings. Even during the protracted 25-year-long civil war, Sri Lanka's economy was able to grow. Sri Lanka's growth rate in last 3 decades did not come for free. The rising national saving was fundamentally fueled for the economic growth. So I conclude with the proven statistics that savings are largely dependent on the economic situation of the country, not the individual's financial discipline. Thank you.
Thank you. Let's have 30 seconds for the judges to mark the ballots. Thank you. The fourth speaker from the proposing team, Priyankara Bandar. Priyankara, can you read out your name again, please?
Priyankara Bandar.
You are visible and audible too. I hope you can see the timer screen.
Yeah.
Yes, okay. Speaker Priyankara, you may start now.
Good afternoon, the honorable judges, the opposition team, my team members, and my dear Pan-Asia colleagues. Today, the topic, when talking about the topic, savings is highly dependent on the individual's performance and the discipline. So, when talking about the opponent team, Tarindra stated that interest rates of the deposits is very much important for the savings. So, example, when we talk about UK, we can see this. There are economic recession in the year 2009. In the year 2009, we can see here that the savings ratios of the individual peoples in UK has increased, even though there is a recession in the period. So, as per the study done by Organization of Economic Cooperation and Development in 2011, there was a recession in UK in 2009, and the interest rates were cut down from 0.5. But this did not reduce the savings ratio of people in UK. The people tend to save more money rather than investing that money with this economic recession. So this completely supports and proves the statement that the economic of the country does not depend on the individual savings, but the financial discipline of the individuals. Furthermore, Rasanjali of the opponent team said that the COVID-19 pandemic outbreak in Sri Lanka, you might have noted that some people in Sri Lanka, they still survive from the money which they have saved. This shows that if they have a financial discipline in their savings, they can use these funds when this pandemic occurs. So most of the people here in Sri Lanka with the pandemic, they can use their saved money to live for their day-to-day expenses. Furthermore, I would like to raise a question from my fourth speaker of the opponent team. We can state that the country's economic growth is 80%, and the people are not maintaining a good financial discipline. So the income of the individuals increases unexpectedly with the growth of the economy. So the people here, uh, they can't manage the financial discipline. So, my dear opponent speaker, can you please explain me, is this 80% of the economic growth is stable? Can people survive with the economic of the country if the economic goes down? Or they can route their day-to-day activities and the expenses smoothly if the economic goes down in a country? Is this economy stable? Even the country, even in this present pandemic situation, people tend to save more. They have financial discipline. People have learned something from this pandemic. They know that if they save more money, they can use it for future requirements. So I totally disagree with the opponent team, and I would like to state that savings is very much important to maintain.
Thank you. Let's have 30 seconds for the judges. Timer, please indicate after 30 seconds. Thank you. Now, fourth speaker from the opposing team, Shehani Fernando. Shihani, can you repeat your name, please?
Hi, I'm Shehani Fernando.
Okay, you're audible and visible. You can see the timer's shared screen, right?
Yeah, I can.
Okay. Speaker Shihani, you may start now.
First of all, I would say that our first member of the proposing team, she was talking about individuals' financial discipline. First of all, I would like to ask, according to the psychologist Abraham Maslow, human beings' physical need for food, water, clothing, shelter, and sleep must be satisfied first. If you have money, then only you'll be able to save. If you don't have money, how could you even think of saving money? As bankers, we are self-disciplined people, but we also don't have money. Then, of course, how can we even think about a normal person? Tirini, I think you have to answer this question because it doesn't matter how disciplined we are in financially. Now we all are in a worse situation and we all are going through a conflict. If the economy is not supportive, then of course we can't save money without letting our own people starve. Then the second speaker, Pravini. Pravini, first of all, I would like to say thank you so much for supporting our topic because she has taken a lot of things on behalf of our team. So thank you so much. And she was talking about that making money. And the first speaker, sorry, I forgot this point. She talked that group of individuals make a society. Then of course, I would say, Tirani, society makes the economy because society is the main component of the economy. And then from her clarification, she also was supporting to our topic. So thank you, Tirini and Pravini, for supporting us. Then, of course, the third member, Rajiv, he was talking about savings. I think he has misunderstood the topic because continuously he was talking about savings. The topic is not about savings. The topic is about that the savings are largely dependent on the economic situation of the country, not the individual's financial discipline. Then, of course, let me come to the third speaker, Rajiv. He was talking about entrepreneurs. I think as a banker and I am working in the credit department, then of course I have seen, especially during the lockdown period, lot of entrepreneurs came and they have asked for concession periods. Please, we don't even have money for food. Then of course we can't repay this particular loan. So I would like to ask if the entrepreneurs have money to save, then of course why don't they have money to repay the loans? Because a lot of moratoriums are coming, moratorium 3, 1, 2, 3, blah blah blah. I don't know when this will end. And then of course let me come to the fourth member, Priyankara. He showed me some charts and I would say that he was talking about interest rate, and I think he has raised a question, right? He was asking about the government discipline and they have money. Then I would like to ask Priyankara, if the government if the people have money, then of course why did government distribute 5,000 rupees for each? I would like to ask that question because everyone was begging for money. Even our country is begging for money. The country is asking for loans from everyone, from every country. So I would like to conclude the speech saying that there's no doubt that the savings are largely dependent on the economic situation of the country, not the individual's financial discipline. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Let's have 30 seconds for the judges. Timer, please indicate after 30 seconds. Thank you. Now, the summary speaker of the proposing team, Chandula Nanayakara. Chandula, can you repeat your name again, please? Can you repeat your name again? Because I think there was a lagging. Chandula, can you repeat your name again? Okay, I hope now it's okay. And can you see the time? Okay, now perfect. You're audible and visible too. Can you see the timer's card?
Yes.
Yes, okay. Speaker Chandula, you may start now.
Greetings to everyone once more. To summarize the key facts stated, let me briefly point out why our motion stood strong against the supportive motion of today's topic. Public financial management plays is very important for developing transitional and poor countries for several reasons. Limited resources requires public finance management systems to be efficient, disciplined, transparent, independent, and accountable. Some of government agencies with their programs and objectives which are usually tied to the economic development strategy of the country. Therefore, its a failure may lead to the failure of the whole system and thus spark social tensions and upheavals. Maintain fiscal discipline is essential to maintain economic stability, reducing vulnerabilities, and improving economic performances. Sri Lanka has an economy which is identified as unsustainable and incompatible. People withdraw their fixed deposits and savings funds as the economy has made a great impact on them, their lifestyle, and therefore their savings. Each and everything is expensive, not affordable. Regarding the individual savings and finance management, in order to survive in a country where the economy is not supportive, individuals are not willing to make savings. There is a positive relationship between per capita gross domestic product GDP and savings, with low income earners spending the majority of their money on basic necessities and wealthiest individual buying luxury items while savings more. The uncertainty of the prevailing economy of our country, including higher price, directly affect individual savings much more than their personal management of the funds. So with the facts concreted and strong arguments brought out by our team, supported the negative motion and therefore clarified your perspective on this topic. Ladies and gentlemen, given these figures, I leave you with the thought savings are largely depend on economic situation of the country, not the individual financial discipline. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Let us have 30 seconds for the judges to mark the ballots. I would like to acknowledge the presence of our MD CEO, Mr. Tilakaratna, and Senior Deputy General Manager, Mr. Nalin. It's a pleasure to have you. Welcome here, sir. Thank you. Next up, the summary speaker of the opposing team, Tilini Tarangi. Tilini, can you repeat your name, please?
Tilini Tarangi.
Okay, you are audible and visible. Can you see the timer's card?
Yes, Chatu.
Okay, great. Speaker Tilini, you may start now.
Saving is a great habit, but without having financial disciplines and tracking, it's just sleep. My dear opposition team member, it's time for you to just wake up. Let's move on our topic. Savings are largely dependent on the individual's financial discipline, not the economic situation of the country. Throughout the whole debate, my team members give arguments and also added plots and give statistical details to prove that savings are largely dependent on the individual's financial discipline. When on my first speech, I was given brief examples and brief definition for the each and every keywords of this topic. That's mean we have to have a better understanding about this topic. And also, my dear opposition team members enter into the debate without having any foundation or base for the debate, but we are concluding and we are giving a specific foundation to the debate, and whole debates of our teams go through based on this basement and this foundation. As my part is given conclusion, but fourth member give me some sort of a challenge, then I go quickly move on to that member, and one third member also asked me, I doubt when the proposition team members are living in Sri Lanka due to the current situation of the country. I will just give us some sort of a small example. Mr. Dudley Sirisena, who is one of the main entrepreneur in Sri Lanka, with the pandemic situation, if there is a heavy pandemic situation in the country, but Mr. Dudley Sirisena started the high Aralia Hotel in Gold area. That is the most important star hotel in the area, with if there is a very pandemic situation of the country, but he totally said that I have a financial confidence and I have a financial discipline, that how I use my utilized saving money for this type of investment. So also they said that government distributed some money to Sri Lankan people because there is a economic incapable in the persons. That's why this is not a issue in a saving. That is the issue in the income distribution issue. That is not, my dear team members, related to the savings. And also, as a team, we are conclude that financial discipline. What are the financial discipline? How those are affected to the each and every individual savings. And we are highly note that if there are have saving more money or earning more money, if you don't have any financial discipline, if you don't have financial discipline, you can't handle it in a proper way. That means you can't put your any amount of money in your saving. That means your future.
Thank you. As we have come to the end of the debate, let us have 2 minutes for the judges to complete their ballot sheets. Timer, please indicate after 2 minutes. Thank you. And we just witnessed enthralling debate, and the judges will select the best team as a winner. Until we give a little time for the judges to select the winner, we will now watch an interesting video on another nail-biting debate by a famous debater, Dr. Shashi Paru, who is an Indian politician, writer, and a former member of the parliament. He was born in London and raised in India. He received a doctorate in international relations and affairs at the age of 22. At that time, he was the youngest to receive such an honor. He delivered a speech at the Oxford Union in 2015, has amazed over 8.5 million views on the particular debate, and the rebuttal. And the same time, he answered the questions of the audience on the topic, Britain does owes reparations to former colonies. We have about the Oxford Union Society. It's a union is world's most prestigious debating society with an unparalleled reputation for bringing international guests and speakers to Oxford. It has been established for 189 years, aiming to promote debate and discussions, not just Oxford University, but across the globe. Over to you, Zoom Master, to play the video.
Sound is not there.
The sound is not audible yet.
Madam President, and gentlemen, ladies of the House, standing here with 8 minutes in my hands and this venerable and rather magnificent institution, I was going to assure you that I belong to the Henry VIII School of Public Speaking, that as Henry VIII said to his wives, I shall not keep you long. But now finding myself the seventh speaker out of 8 in what must already seem a rather long evening to you, I rather feel like Henry VIII's last wife. I more or less know what's expected of me, but I'm not sure how to do it any differently. Perhaps what I should do is really try and pay attention to the arguments that were advanced by the opposition today. We had, for example, Sir Richard Ottaway suggesting, challenging the very idea that it could be argued that the economic situation of the colonies was actually worsened by the experience of British colonialism. Well, I stand to offer you the Indian example, Sir Richard. India's share of the world economy when Britain arrived on its shores was 23%. By the time the British left, it was down to below 4%. Why? Simply because India had been governed for the benefit of Britain. Britain's rise for 200 years was financed by its depredations in India. In fact, Britain's industrial revolution was actually premised upon the deindustrialization of India. The handloom weavers, for example, famed across the world, whose products were exported around the world, Britain came right in. There were actually these weavers making fine muslin, light as woven air, it was said. And Britain came right in, smashed their thumbs, broke their looms, imposed tariffs and duties on their cloth and products, and started, of course, taking the raw materials from India and shipping back manufactured cloth, flooding the world's markets with what became the products of the dark and satanic mills of Victorian England. That meant that the weavers in India became beggars, and India went from being a world-famous exporter of finished cloth into an importer, went from having 27% of world trade to less than 2%. Meanwhile, colonialists like Robert Clive bought their rotten boroughs in England on the proceeds of their loot in India, while taking the Hindi word loot into their dictionaries as well as their habits. And the British had the gall to call him Clive of India, as if he belonged to the country, when all he really did was to ensure that much of the country belonged to him. By the end of the 19th century, the fact is that India was already Britain's biggest cash cow, the world's biggest purchaser of British goods and exports, and the source of highly paid employment for British civil servants. We literally paid for our own oppression. And as has been pointed out, the wealthy Victorian British families that made their money out of the slave economy. 1/5 of the elites of the wealthy class in Britain in the 19th century owed their money to transporting 3 million Africans across the waters. And in fact, in 1833, when slavery was abolished, what happened was that a compensation of £20 million was paid, not as reparations to those who had lost their lives or who had suffered or been oppressed by slavery, but to those who had lost their property. I was struck by the fact that your Wi-Fi password at this union commemorates the name of Mr. Gladstone, the great liberal hero. Well, I'm sorry, his family was one of those who benefited from this compensation. Staying with India, between 15 and 29 million Indians died of starvation in British-induced famines. The most famous example, of course, was the Great Bengal Famine during the Second World War, when 4 million people died because Winston Churchill, deliberately as a matter of written minuted policy, proceeded to divert essential supplies from civilians in Bengal to sturdy Tommies and Europeans as reserve stockpiles. He said that the starvation of anyway underfed Bengalis mattered much less than that of sturdy Greeks. This is Churchill's actual quote. And when conscience-stricken British officials wrote to him, pointing out that people were dying because of this decision, he peevishly wrote in the margins of the file, "Why hasn't Gandhi died yet?" So all notions that the British were trying to do their colonial enterprise out of enlightened despotism, to try and bring the benefits of colonialism and civilization to the benighted heathen. I'm sorry, Churchill's conduct in 43 is simply one example of many that gave a lie to this myth. As others have said on the proposition, violence and racism were the reality of the colonial experience. And no wonder that the sun never set on the British Empire, because even God couldn't trust the English in the dark. Let me take World War I as a very concrete example, since the first speaker, Mr. Lee, suggested these things couldn't be quantified. Well, let me quantify World War I for you. Again, I'm sorry, from an Indian perspective, others have spoken of other countries. 1/6 of all the British forces that fought in the war were Indian. 54,000 Indians actually lost their lives in that war. 65,000 were wounded. Another 4,000 remained missing or in prison. Indian taxpayers had to cough up £100 million in that time's money. India supplied 70 million rounds of ammunition, 600,000 rifles and machine guns, 42 million garments were stitched and sent out of India, and 1.3 million Indian personnel served in this war. I know all this because, of course, the commemoration of the centenary has just taken place. But not just that, India had to supply 173,000 animals, 370 million tons of supplies, and in the end, the total value of everything that was taken out of India. India, by the way, suffering from recession at that time and poverty and hunger, was, in today's money, £8 billion. You want quantification? It's available. Second World War, it was even worse, 2.5 million Indians in uniform. I won't belabor the point, but of Britain's total war debt of £3 billion, in 1945 money, 1.25 billion was owed to India and never actually paid. Somebody mentioned Scotland. Well, the fact is that colonialism actually cemented your union with Scotland. You know, the Scots had actually tried to send colonies out before 1707. They'd all failed, I'm sorry to say. But then, of course, came union, and India was available, and there you had a disproportionate employment of Scots. I'm sorry, Mr. Mackenzie has to speak after me. Engaged in this colonial enterprise as soldiers, as merchants, as agents, as employees, and the earnings from India is what brought prosperity to Scotland, even pulled Scotland out of poverty. Now that India is no longer there, no wonder the bonds are loosening. Now, we've heard other arguments on this side. There's been a mention of the railways. Well, let me tell you, first of all, as my colleague, the Jamaican High Commissioner, has pointed out, railways and roads were really built to serve British interests and not those of the local people. But I might add that many countries have built railways and roads without having had to be colonized in order to do so. They were designed to carry raw materials from the hinterland into the ports to be shipped to Britain. And the fact is that the Indian or Jamaican or other colonial public, their needs were incidental. Transportation, there was no attempt made to match supply to demand for mass transport, none whatsoever. Instead, in fact, the Indian railways were built with massive incentives offered by Britain to British investors, guaranteed out of Indian taxes paid by Indians, with the result that you actually had 1 mile of Indian railway costing twice what it cost to build the same mile in Canada or Australia, because there was so much money being paid in extravagant returns. Britain made all the profits, controlled the technology, supplied all the equipment, and absolutely all these benefits came as private enterprise, British private enterprise, at public risk, Indian public risk. That was the railways as an accomplishment. We're hearing about aid. I think it was again Sir Richard Ottaway who mentioned British aid to India. Well, let me just point out that British aid to India is about 0.4% of India's GDP. The government of India actually spends more on fertilizer subsidies, which might be an appropriate metaphor for that argument. If I may point out as well, that as my fellow speakers from the proposition have pointed out, there have been incidents of racial violence, of loot, of massacres, of bloodshed, of transportation, in India's case, even of one of our last Mughal emperor. Yes, maybe today's Britons are not responsible for some of these depredations, but the same speakers have pointed with pride to their foreign aid. You're not responsible for the people starving in Somalia, but you give them aid. Surely the principle of reparations for the wrongs that have been done cannot be denied. It's been pointed out, for example, the dehumanization of Africans in the Caribbean, the massive psychological damage that has been done, the undermining of social traditions, of property rights, of the authority structures of these societies, all in the interests of British colonialism. And the fact remains that many of today's problems in these countries, including the persistence, in some cases the creation of racial and ethnic and religious tensions, were the direct result of the colonial experience. So there is a moral debt that needs to be paid. Someone challenged reparations elsewhere. Well, I'm sorry, Germany doesn't just give reparations to Israel. It also gave reparations to Poland. Perhaps some of the speakers here are too young to remember the dramatic picture of Chancellor Willy Brandt on his knees in the Warsaw Ghetto in 1970. And there are other examples. There is Italy's reparations to Libya. There's Japan's to Korea. Even Britain has paid reparations to the New Zealand Maoris. So it's not as if this is something unprecedented or unheard of that's going to somehow open some sort of nasty Pandora's box. No wonder Professor Lewis reminded us that he's from Texas. There's a wonderful expression in Texas that summarizes the arguments of the opposition: all hat and no cattle. Now, if I can just quickly look through the other notes I was scribbling while they were speaking, there was reference to democracy and rule of law. Let me say with the greatest possible respect, it's a bit rich to oppress, enslave, kill, torture, maim people for 200 years and then celebrate the fact that they're democratic at the end of it. We were denied democracy, sir. We had to snatch it, seize it from you. With the greatest reluctance, it was conceded in India's case after 150 years of British rule, and that too with limited franchise. Yes, indeed, ma'am.
The opposition spoke quite highly of Greek and Athenian democracy on which the West should pride itself, and spoke of liberty and equality in that same name. The Athenian democracy was only functioning because of the slave society on which it was built. That's the nature of colonisation.
All right, I don't think that needs contradiction, not from me at any rate. But if I may just point out, I think the arguments made by a couple of the speakers, the first speaker, Mr. Lee in particular, conceded all the evil atrocities of colonialism, but essentially suggested that reparations won't really help, they won't help the right people, they'll be used as a propaganda tool, they'll embolden people like Mr. Mugabe. It's always nice how in the old days, I'm sorry to say that the people of the Caribbean used to frightened their children into behaving and sleeping by saying Sir Francis Drake would come after them. That was a legacy of that. Now it's Mugabe will be there. So this is the new sort of Sir Francis Drake of our times. The fact is very simply, sir, that we are not talking about reparations as a tool to empower anybody. They're a tool for you to atone for the wrongs that have been done. And I am quite prepared to accept the proposition that you can't put a monetary sum on the kinds of horrors people have suffered. Certainly no amount of money can expiate the loss of a loved one, as somebody pointed out there. You're not going to be able to figure out an exact amount, but the principle is what matters. The fact is that to speak blithely of sacrifices on both sides, as an analogy was used here, a burglar comes into your house, ransacks the place, stubs his toe, and you say, well, there was a sacrifice on both sides. That, I'm sorry to say, is not an acceptable argument. The truth is that we are not arguing specifically that vast sums of money need to be paid. The proposition before this House is the principle of owing reparations, not the fine points of how much is owed, to whom it should be paid. The question is there a debt? Does Britain owe reparations? As far as I'm concerned, the ability to acknowledge a wrong that has been done, to simply say sorry, will go a far, far, far longer way than some percentage of GDP in the form of aid. What is required, it seems to me, is accepting the principle that reparations are owed. Personally, I'd be quite happy if it was £1 a year for the next 200 years after the last 200 years of Britain and India. Thank you very much, Madam President.
As we enjoy the video of the best debaters, we now have the results that you have been waiting for. But before that, I would like to announce, I would call upon the Chief Judge, Mr. Modita Sendanayaka, to address the audience on overall feedback.
Thank you very much, debate moderator Chatrika. And it has been a pleasure to witness your debate. I must tell you, I've been right throughout from the very beginning. As soon as I got the invitation, and also we were planning things very quickly. And one thing that we wanted is that to make this debate an engaging tool, and also a proper tool to improve several skills and to give you that experience or a refreshing experience of doing a debate. Now, I believe that has served the purpose. And I noted down so many things in my paper. Normally, I do certain things, things that you have done really well. And maybe if there's anything that you can take from this debate, and for those who have been participating in the initial levels, the preliminary rounds, and witnessing this debate, now you can see the level of improvement while engaging in the process. Right? I'll come to that later, but let me tell you the things I really admire in this debate, particular debate. First one is debating skills. I saw drastic improvement. If all the others can vouch for this because you have been there, those participants and the officials, the debating skills have improved immensely, I must tell you. And the result that you will be getting in a few moments, it's a very nail-biting result. I would say a very close encounter. So whoever who become the first runner-up, there is nothing to worry at all because it's just a close encounter. And also you have achieved that benchmark that we were expecting you to achieve. So kudos to all of you, especially the people who have been there for the preliminary round and also the final two teams who debated few minutes back, completed few minutes back with that mind-blowing debating skills. So debating skills you have done immensely. One thing that I saw in your debating skills, the way you brought this, the two elements I mentioned, the voice and the body language, vocal variation, the usage of words and expressions, gestures, everything. Now, these are very important. Why? We are talking about persuasive speaking. Debating is all about persuasive speaking, how you can convince your other party or the judges, the fellow participants to accept your viewpoint and maybe prove others wrong. So for that, you need to have very powerful persuasive skills and also good command of your communication skills. So I witnessed that today. And just like we were witnessing it throughout our preliminary round. So that is one area that you have really improved. And also, finally, the arguments that you took. The arguments that you brought forward is absolutely good. I saw that the way you make the points, it was the clarity and the simplicity was there, because when you are clear and when you are pointing it out in a point form and with that clarity in the mind, definitely the argument will be very sound. And the reasons were brought forward very powerfully and rapidly as well. Good on that. And I saw another beautiful thing, the how you brought the subtle humor, the sarcasm when you're doing these rebuttals. I saw some people were sarcastically referring to certain things. That's totally okay. In a debate, you can have subtle humor. You can just, take the point and just break on top of that point and have some sarcasm, which is a treat to watch. And these are the areas that you have done really well. And also the creativity and the innovative approaches that you have taken. Creativity, yes, you had these backgrounds. I saw some of these of your participants, they had backgrounds and they used this whiteboard marker, whiteboards and some flip charts, even boards, certain innovative approaches that you have taken that I didn't see in the previous round, which is a huge improvement. So everything I would say serve the purpose. Now, if you imagine the level that you had at the very beginning of this process, now where you are, maybe after the preliminary round, and for those two finalists, the teams after the grand finale. Now see the level. If you compare, you can fulfill yourself. The internal satisfaction is there, and there are the areas that you can improve. Rebuttals again. Why I say so? Normally the process would be how you deny some other fact. You have to point out very clearly what they said and then what you say, and you have to say what is the reason because of this point, and then the final impact, why this is important. Therefore my argument is correct. We have to have a very logical ground, right? Sound logical ground. Remember the three elements I mentioned: ethos, pathos, and logos, ethics and emotions and logic. Through these three, we can persuade any audience. So the debate is all about persuading and improving your skills. Now, what you will get from this debate, now I know that there are senior management, respective senior management members, and also some of these members of previous teams and overall PABC members. Now, there are quite a number of things that will improve by debating. Number one, it will allow you to think about aspects and perspectives you may have never considered previously. You tend to see certain areas that you haven't seen before. In the banking sector, this is absolutely remarkable because having multiple perspectives will give you the room of coming into conclusion with various sources and various deriving outcomes. That is a skill that we can improve. And also, you think strategically and also speak strategically. You think strategically and speak strategically. Strategic thinking and strategic communication, I would say it's the foundation of banking. And you have to have these skills, so you improve through debating. And I don't have to specifically mention the public speaking skills. You have to put your motion in front of others, and you have to speak very vividly. You have to speak as others would understand you. You'll get your point, so you improve your speaking skills and persuasive skills, as I mentioned. And finally, you see the two sides of the argument. Maybe you have some preconceived ideas or preconceived ideas or prejudice something in your mind. But when you take the other side to prove, you tend to see certain things and you try to research more and come into conclusions. Now see, these are all very important facts, specifically for a banker, banking executive, or a person who is very thoroughly worked in bank. So that is the purpose of having this debate. That's what I wanted you to achieve. I'm pretty sure that you have achieved it. Remember the experience that you had. It's engaging, enriching, and also it's entertaining. I wish you all the very best for the finalists and also all those who have participated from the preliminary round. And I would like to place a special thank to the HR team and also the senior management for coming up with these ideas and giving this opportunity for the Pan Asia bankers. And another huge thank to my panel of judges for their remarkable and unbiased expert knowledge that they are having to derive the outcome. Thank you for having me, and it was a pleasure and an honor to serve you as the chief judge of this inaugural debate of Pan Asia Debater 2021, and looking forward for many to improve you boundlessly. Over to you, Chatrika. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much indeed. Thank you, Chief Judge, for enlightening on the observation facts which were benefited for all the spectators. And as we have welcomed our MD CEO, Mr. Nimal Tilakaratna, dear sir, would you like to speak few words for the audience to encourage them?
Sir, you're on mute, sir. You'll have to unmute, sir.
Now you can hear me. Can
Yes,
you hear
sir,
me
thank
now?
you. Yes, thank you.
Thank you very much, Chief Judge and his officials for helping us to conduct this debate today. And it's an idea that came to me, from nowhere. Like, say we were thinking, the people has nothing to do, no gatherings, no social integration. So I thought I just give the idea to Sampath, think of something like this, because I have seen this this type of debate gets hot up, and people improve hugely in their communication skills, over the period of time. So you did well, Chaturika and your team, and Sampath, and the participants. It's an excellent start for all of us, and I think it's a novel experience for Pan Asia Bank as well. We will try to continue this for next few years, and try to see whether we can get into the kind of interbank level and win some trophies in the near future. So thank you very much, everybody. Take care.
Thank you very much indeed, sir, for such encouragement, and we are delighted from your few words. And with that note of our CEO, we are now moving into the very important and the nail-biting moment that you are waiting for. Before we announce the winners, I'll be reading out the winner plus the first runner-up. Dear Nishi, there's an echo coming in. Okay, I'll move ahead. The Pan Asia Debater 2021. The winning team is the Team Central. Congratulations, Team Central, Chandula and the rest of the team.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Chatrika. Thank you, Chief Judge. Thank you, CEO. Thank you, Mr. Nalim. Thank you, Head of HR and all the team. And I especially want to thank my team members, Tarindra, Diniti, Shihani, Rasanjali, and on behalf of the Central Region, I would like to say thank to all of the judges for this greatest engagement which has been organized by the head office. Thank you so much.
And I would like to request the participant of the winning team to switch on their videos for a moment. We have Chandula, Diniti. Who else? Chandula? We have Rasanjali, right? Diniti, Shehani.
Tarindra, Diniti, Shehani, and Rasanjali. Zoom Master, if you can take a screenshot of the winning team by pinning them. Please confirm once it's done. Thank you very much. And of course, we haven't forgotten our first runner-up of the Pan Asia Debater 2021, the Team Southern. Well done, Team Southern. And the team leader, Tilini, all of the team members can on the video for us to take the photograph. Zoom Master, kindly confirm once done. Tilini Tarangi. Pravini Dizoiza, Rajiv Seelanatha, Priyankara Bandara, and the reserve member, Madhushika Lakshani. Zoom Master, are we done?
Yeah, we are done.
Okay, thank you very much. And while the two teams celebrate the winning, let me take an appreciation note for who's behind this act. As very well said, CEO for the initiative and the corporate management for supporting it, and our chief judge and the panel of judges, Mr. Modika Sendanayaka, our internal panel of judge, Mr. Jeremy Dizilva, Mr. Javana Pradeep Malgahagamage, Ms. Dinelka Nayani Jayapuri, for all of your commitment and dedication from the beginning itself. There was a training round and a preliminary, and up to the level of now for completing the debate in a successful way. And of course, the head of HR and the manager employee engagement for actioning the new initiative, and the rest of the HR team members. Of course, not forgetting our debaters, highly challenging. We witnessed a couple of debates over the preliminary round and today, and for their such commitment while they were doing their work during day, and they have committed to deliver the debate. So well done, all the team members and the team leaders. Of course, our very own staff who was there to support at the audience and for backing up, for finding them supporting documents, supporting information, for all that effort. Thank you very much for supporting your team. And of course, the timer, Umesh Sirivardhan of the Internal Audit Department, for being there, the preliminary round and the final, for giving a best service as the timer. So with that note, we have come to the conclusion of the today debate, Pan Asia Debate 2021. As CEO's guidance and blessings, we will be continuing this on the future years as well. Thank you very much, Mr. Nalin and Mr. Nimal and other corporate members and our staff for logging in, for the encouragement of all of them. Until we see you again, have a pleasant day. Stay safe.
Chatrika, just a small note before winding up. Now, I know Chandula and Tirini will be having some unfinished business with unfinished arguments and rebuttals, so you can complete it over a coffee or meal once the situation is favorable for you. Congratulations, team. Well done, and it's remarkable. It's a great pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, you all.
Thank you, all the judges. Thank you very much.
Thank you all.
Why did you come up with that?